Hello and happy Tuesday, which is, of course, my book reviews day. And today, I would like to talk to you about Find the Torch, a chapbook by Tyler Jones, Michael Marshall Smith, and Josh Malerman. This puppy was a pre-order bonus for those who ordered Midas from Earthling Publications and Burned the Plans from Thunderstorm Books. But there is going to be a lettered limited edition of this coming out eventually. More details on that after the review itself. It's a tiny little book. It's got 3 short stories, one by each of the authors. Thematically, Tyler Jones's Who Built the Moon and Michael Marshall Smith's This Is Now definitely have connections between them. Both of them are science fiction horror stories. Both deal with horrors that are encountered in the woods. Who Built the Moon is a story of an annual hunting trip gone wrong. Some folks go out to hunt and they discover more in the woods than what they were seeking. It's a fun read. You don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, it's got like some science fiction horror in there for you, and it's a nice, quick little jaunt through the woods. This Is Now is probably the standout of the collection. This was actually originally published back in 2004, I believe. For the BBC, if I recall that correctly. And it deals with a couple of friends who are drinking one night, and they are recalling a time when they hopped the fence into an otherwise off-limits area. And they decide, hey, you know what, let's go back and check that out again. And there is some strange stuff on the other side of that fence. It's definitely, like I said, the standout of the 3 short stories in this collection. I really didn't know. I wanted more. I didn't know where it was going to go. And once I was given a taste of what's on the other side of the fence, I wanted more. So come on, Michael Marshall Smith. You got to give us more than that. The third one is The Odd Man Out. That's Room 4 at the Haymaker by Josh Malerman. This one isn't sci-fi horror. I guess it kind of feels like a Twilight Zone episode at times, which I guess would be sci-fi. It kind of defies genre in a way. I mean, it takes a horror turn in the last few pages and just completely has a tonal shift. But a majority of the short story deals with a middle-aged woman dealing with her past trauma. A woman is moving out of a house that she's lived in for over 30 years, but she's kind of haunted in a way, almost obsessively, with the memory of her first husband 30 years ago. The husband was there when she bought the house, and he stuck around for 90 days before just up and abandoning their relationship and stepping out of her life. And I mean, yeah, trauma is what shapes us as people, but I didn't quite connect to the degree I should have with the main character. With Evelyn, just because she, within the 30 years that have passed since that traumatic 90 days, that, the abandonment of her husband, she's gone on, she's gotten married again, she's had a beautiful daughter who's grown up and is now helping her with the move, and yet she's still haunted and obsessively by that first marriage, which, I mean, the trauma needs to be there because the root of this short story is overcoming that trauma and kind of facing that past, especially when she picks up a hitchhiker on the drive on the road, who reminds her of that first husband. But it's like, I don't want to say like move on, but like 30 years have passed and you've gotten a kid out of your second marriage, so it seems weird to be harping on about the first. It unfortunately suffers from Josh Malerman getting philosophical, which it happens. He gets philosophical in a lot of his works, sometimes at the expense of his own fiction. And that is kind of the case here, but it's a short enough short story that it makes up for it without derailing it off the tracks. And like I said, the last few pages was a twist that I did not see coming at all. It was the most surprising of the 3 short stories based on those last few pages alone. As I mentioned earlier, This Is Now and Room 4 at the Haymaker, I believe I mentioned earlier. If not, both of those are available through other means. They are reprints here. Room 4 at the Haymaker was from, it's called Lost Highways. Lost Highways, Dark Fictions from the Road, an anthology from, I believe it was Crystal Lake Publishing. This Is Now was published by BBCI back in 2004. And Who Built the Moon is also available outside of this collection because, as I said, this collection was only available, this little chapbook was only available for those who pre-ordered both of the titles together. But Who Built the Moon has an audio adaptation. It's not really an audio book per se, but there is what was the name of it? There is a podcast, a horror podcast, in which that short story is read, not by Tyler Jones, it's read by somebody else. I'm totally blanking on the name. I just looked up before I'm recording this, but link in the description below with the name of that podcast if you want to check it out and hear it for yourself. As I mentioned, they are getting a limited edition Find the Torch through Thunderstorm Books. This was a joint venture from Earthling and Thunderstorm. And Paul from Thunderstorm has hinted that he's going to do a lettered edition of this. It's going to be a little bit pricier, especially considering it's just 3 short stories. I don't know whether or not it's going to be lettered in the same style of the Fracassi lettered editions, which if you want, I've done unboxings of those on this channel just this past week or 2 weeks ago, so you can check those out. Or if it's going to be in line with his Screaming Cacti lettered editions, which are a combination of leather and cloth bound. If you wanted to see one of those in the video format, is it Halo of Flies? I might not be Halo of Flies, but Jeff Terry over at the Jeff Word did an unboxing of one of those Screaming Cacti letter editions. If you want to check those out. Not sure what style it's going to be in, but with only 3 short stories, I mean, it's 100 pages with the small trim size. Giving a larger trim size, you're looking at maybe half the page length, the page count. So I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out for the letter edition. But if you really want another in-print copy and you don't want to find a paperback copy on the secondary market, you could subscribe to Thunderstorm's newsletter and get the advance notice of when the lettered edition is to be released. But like I said, each of these short stories is available in other forms, whether it be listening to the audio through the podcast for Tyler Jones, or you can read a copy of Michael Marshall Smith's or Josh Malerman's in print or online. I believe there's ebook versions of both of those as well. But yeah, it's a pretty solid collection. I mean, it's a nice, short, little chapbook. I mean, you're not getting the full length of a short story collection, but sometimes that's a nice thing. You get a nice little easy read, especially if you're looking for some very quick but very entertaining sci-fi horror. Like I said, Malerman's is kind of the odd duck there, where it's not really sci-fi horror. It's not even really horror up till the last few pages, where there's something that's not horrific, but something that's startling, to say the least. But yeah, seriously, check out all 3 of these authors. They've got plenty of works out there for you to read and enjoy. Tyler Jones's Midas, which is, I believe, now sold out through Earthling Publications. One of my favorite reads from last year. Josh Malerman has some good ones out there as well, which are readily available in trade editions. And then Michael Marshall Smith has a bunch out there as well. If you want to stick with his short fiction, there's actually 2 short story collections that have been published by Subterranean Press for Michael Marshall Smith. So plenty out there for you to check out. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I have plenty of unboxing videos on the channel if you want to check those out, including, like I said, some lettered Thunderstorm books, as well as some Josh Malerman editions, including an upcoming one from Tyler Jones, which is also Thunderstorm related. Fingers crossed that should be arriving any day now, and hopefully I have my camera issues solved by then as well. Also have at least 1 book review a week on Tuesdays, if not 2 or more. This is a nice little quick one instead of a full book review, even though it's 9 minutes and I'm still rambling, just because my phone broke this past weekend. I had some videos recorded on that, and I'm working on getting those recovered. In the meantime, I have this new phone, which seems to make every